Okay, so I'm going to be talking today about Celebrate Recovery, but this will also, I'm going to look at it in broad terms, so it's going to really affect any kind of ideology that is called um, Christian-based or Bible-based. There's lots of them out there. Christian-based. And the one we're going to pick on, the one I'm going to pick on just because it's the best well-known, is, I wouldn't say it's just a well-known one. It's Celebrate Recovery. They call it CR. Okay, Celebrate Recovery. It's Christian-based system. So we're going to talk about systems in general and why systems, anything that's called Christian-based, if it's a system, a methodology, then it is not Christian. There's no such thing as a Christian-based anything. Christianity is based on a person, and that person is Christ. The Mormons are Christian-based. The Jehovah's Witnesses are Christian-based. There's lots and lots of things that are Christian-based. But those are different entities. This is an entity that's within the church, and this is an entity that there's authentic Christians in here. There are people that are Christians who are followers of Christ, that believe in Christ, who are doing their best to follow the Lord, and they think this system is approved by Christ to make progress. I guess that's where their whole thing is, making progress. The progress was made, actually the beginning and the end and the finishing. Christ said he is the author and finisher of our faith. Author and finisher. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is the beginning and the end. He is the first and the last. He made the creation, and when he made it, when he died, he said, "It is finished." He had finished his works. He went and sat down on the right hand of the throne of God. Why did he sit down? Because his works were finished. All of these systems are unfinished, or really don't acknowledge, I will say they deny that this has happened, and that now they are trying to add to the finished work of Christ. Well, if you put it that way, it sounds kind of horrific, doesn't it? Trying to add to the finished work of Christ. But that's what all systems do. All systems do this. And what a system starts out to do, they'll all say, you have to work the steps. You have to work the steps. So, if you know anything about the Bible, if you know anything about grace, if you know anything about the book of Galatians, the book of Romans, this word in Christianity, that's anathema to Christianity. That is, it's an opposition. You can work and works, and they say they're going to give you tools to do this work. All of this whole ideal is anti-Christian. It's all a system. It's all about works. It's all about human effort to try to add to what Christ did. So, steps. What are steps? Anybody ever hear the Tower of Babel? Tower of Babel. was some guy, actually it was every human on earth at that time, built this in an effort to rise to get to heaven. Every religion on the earth has got a step program. People who are hung up in the 10 Commandments say you got to keep these 10 Commandments and then you'll get there. You'll please God. No, you will not. There's the 6 principles in Buddhism. There are, I don't know if it's 6 or 8. One of them, either Islam has 6 or 8, and Buddhism has either 6 or 8. I get them mixed up. So, but it's always steps. You do these works, you will rise, and you will improve, and you will try to break this ceiling of where God is. You have to work the steps. You have to have the tools to build. Now, this is an interesting thing about when God said about altars, which are representations of worship to God and how we understand God. Altars. He said, when you make an altar, just get a bunch of rocks and put them together. And that's your altar. You worship me here. It says, do not carve these. Do not use tools to work these. Do not fashion them into an image, because eventually that image will be like yourself. You'll end up studying self rather than studying God. And that's what CR is about, studying self. It's not about studying God. So, another thing he said, when he made the temple, when God said, make Solomon to make the temple, he said, cut. A tool cannot be heard. The sound of a tool where the temple is being built. Cut everything, build everything, and it's like Legos. Take them then you bring them to the site, you put them all together, you assemble them. But no, the sound of a tool was not allowed on the premise of the temple of God, because it was important. It was an important symbol. The Old Testament is about symbols to teach us about God, about God's nature. That is what the Old Testament is about, and people don't study it, so they don't understand it. So they get 10 verses from the Beatitudes, and they get 1 verse from the book of Romans 6, and they say, well, this is what we're basing this as being Christian. This is what we're doing. We're basing it on these couple of little verses. The Old Testament has got huge ideals about not mixing. Who has ever studied, I'm talking about whoever's looking at this, have you ever studied the book of Leviticus? What's the book of Leviticus about? Nobody studies it, nobody reads it. Well, it's just a bunch of rules. People at least usually know that much. It's all the rules. In there, there's 613 commandments, rules to live by. And some of them are really, really weird. So why are these weird laws in there? Well, almost what God tells his priests is, these are here so that you can learn what is clean and what is unclean. That is the purpose of the book of Leviticus. So it says, don't mix the clean with the unclean. Don't mix cotton and wool. Actually, these aren't even both. One of these aren't even unclean. it's telling this principle. Both of these are clean materials, but they're not to be mixed. Some other things are foods. You're not supposed to eat something with a solid hoof. You can eat it. You can eat with a split hoof, but not a solid hoof. We still do that today. You know what? This would be a camel or a horse. This would be a deer or a cow. Well, we're just like appalled. Eat a horse? Eat a camel? That just sounds disgusting. Because we've been taught this from the book of Leviticus, that this is what's clean and this is what's not clean. And that's the whole ideal, clean and not clean. But people eat. This prohibition is gone. All these prohibitions are gone now. When we finish the Old Testament, that's in the book of Hebrews. All of these prohibitions have gone. They're put there for a reason. They're put there to teach what is clean and what is unclean. Now, in the Isaiah says, he's trying to give this example. He's saying, if you get a piece of meat that's been consecrated, that is, it's made holy. It's been through their rituals. You get this holy meat, you wrap it up, and you're taking it home. And then you drop it, and it gets dirty. Is it holy now? Isaiah mocks that ideal. He goes, are you kidding? Of course it's not holy. Now it's filthy, it's dirty, you can't eat it, it's not clean anymore. See, this is the problem, and they got this backwards. See, they try to say something, they try to sanctify the world's ideals. The CR does not come from the Beatitudes, it comes from AA. I've been to my brothers in AA. I've been to 50 AA meetings. So I know what the meetings are about, what they look like, what they sound like. And I've been to several CR meetings, and I know a lot of CR guys. And it's the same thing, except they've tried to sanctify this. See, this is about 60 years old. This is, as I recall, someone said it's 13 years old. That they have sanctified. They say they've sanctified this by adding the Beatitudes. From John, Matthew 5. They said, well, we got the Beatitudes behind us now, so now this is sanctified, it's Christian. So that ideal is completely opposite of what the Bible says, what the Leviticus says. The book of Leviticus, what the book of Leviticus says, if you have Christianity, true and pure Christianity, and you put this in it, this has made this unholy. But they're trying to make it holy. They're trying to make this holy by adding, now it's Christian based, so it's holy. But the Bible clearly states, all of these things over and over and over again in Leviticus. Don't mix this, don't mix this, don't let this touch this. If you touch it, if you say you're going to do something holy and sanctify yourself and make yourself holy for a period of time, if you take the vow of the Nazarene and you touch a dead person or you touch anything that's unholy, got to stop. If you said you're going to do it for 90 days and you did it for 50 days or 89 days, touch a dead person accidentally, it's unholy. Everything you did is useless and was fruitless. You got to go back and start all over again. The holy cannot be touched. When a holy thing does not touch an unholy thing and make it pure. An unholy thing, when it touches the holy thing, it makes it impure. So there can be no mixing. No mixing. So what's the main problem with mixing? Is you've got a percentage of what's right? And I'm saying I know a lot of CR guys. They got a lot of their, they've got a lot. Well, I wouldn't say a lot. They got some of their ideals right, but like leaven, this is what another thing Christ said. If you let that leaven in, pretty soon it's going to creep in and affect the whole bread. So we're going to show a little bit how that's happened. So that's the basic principle of it. And I think I'm gonna make this short, and then I'm gonna start another one, and the second one's gonna be how when this is mixed, the pollution that comes from that, how it is the leaven is complete in CR. It's completely full of leaven. Okie doke.